Hello everyone, my name is Bakshi Puneet and today we will do nose, mouth and neck examination. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
What is your name?
Kiran Bakshi?
Do you have pain on your nose?
No.
On your entire face?
No.
On the neck part?
No.
So everything is fine?
Yes.
Now we will do nose examination. First, inspect the anterior and inferior surfaces of the nose. Gentle pressure on the tip of the nose with your thumb usually widens the nostril. Use a pen light or otoscope light to obtain a partial view of each nasal vestibule. If the nasal tip is tender, be gentle and manipulate the nose as little as possible. Note any asymmetry or deformity of the nose. Test for nasal obstruction if indicated by pressing on each ala nasi in turn and asking the patient to breathe in. Now inspect the inside of the nares with an otoscope and the largest available ear speculum. Tilt the patient's head back a bit and insert the speculum gently into the vestibule of each nostril. Avoiding contact with the sensitive nasal septum, hold the otoscope handle to one side to avoid the patient's chin and improve your mobility. By directing the speculum posteriorly, then upward in the small step, try to see the inferior and middle turbinates, the nasal septum, and the narrow nasal passage between them. Some asymmetry of the two sides is normal. Now, inspect the nasal mucosa, nasal septum, and any abnormality. Inspect the nasal mucosa that covers the septum and turbinates. Note its color and any swelling, bleeding, or exudate. If exudate is present, note its character like clear, mucopurulent, or purulent. The nasal mucosa is normally somewhat redder than the oral mucosa. The nasal septum. Note any deviation, inflammation, or perforation of the septum. The lower anterior portion of the septum where the patient's finger can reach is a common source of epistaxis, which is a nosebleed. Any abnormality such as ulcers or polyps should also be examined. Now place all the nasal and ear specula outside your instruments case after use, then discard or clean and disinfect them appropriately. Now at last for the nose examination, palpate for sinus tenderness, press up on the frontal sinuses from under the bony brows, avoiding pressure on the eyes, then press up on the maxillary sinuses. Now we will do mouth examination. First, inspect the lips. Observe their color and moisture and note any lumps, ulcers, cracking, or scaliness. Watch for central cyanosis or pallor from anemia. Now inspect the oral mucosa. Look into the patient's mouth and with a good light and with the help of tongue blade, inspect the oral mucosa for color, ulcers, white patches and nodules. Now inspect the gums and teeth. Note the color of the gums, which are normally pink. Brown patches may be present, specially but not exclusively in a dark skinned individuals. Inspect the gum margins and interdental papillae for swelling or ulceration. Inspect the teeth. Are any of them missing, discolored, misshapen, or abnormally positioned? To assess tooth, jaw, or facial pain, palpate the teeth for looseness and the gums with your gloved thumb and index finger. Now inspect the roof of the mouth. Inspect the color and architecture of the hard palate. Now inspect the tongue and floor of the mouth. Ask the patient to put out his or her tongue. Inspect it for symmetry, which is a test of the hypoglossal nerve, which is a cranial nerve 12. Note the color and texture of the dorsum of the tongue. Inspect entire oral cavity, especially the sides and the undersurface of the tongue and the floor of the mouth, areas where cancers often develop. Note any white or reddened areas, nodules or ulcerations. Wearing gloves, palpate any lesions. Ask the patient to protrude the tongue with your right hand. Grasp the tip of the tongue with a square of gauze and gently pull it to the patient's left. Inspect the side of the tongue and then palpate it with your gloved left hand, feeling for any induration. Reverse the procedure for the other side. Now inspect the pharynx. With the patient's mouth open but the tongue not protruded, ask the patient to say aha or yawn. This action helps you see the posterior pharynx well. Alternatively, you can press a tongue blade firmly down on the midpoint of the arched tongue, back far enough to visualize the pharynx but not so far that you cause gagging. Simultaneously ask for an ah or a yawn. Note the rise of the soft palate, which is a test of cranial nerve 10, the vagal nerve. Inspect the soft palate, anterior and posterior pillars, uvula, tonsils, and pharynx. Note their color, symmetry, and look for exudate, swelling, ulceration, or tonsillar enlargement. If possible, palpate any suspicious areas for induration or tenderness. At last, discard your tongue blade after use. Now we will do neck examination. Now inspect the neck, noting its symmetry and any masses or scars. Look for enlargement of the parotid or submandibular gland and note any visible lymph nodes. Palpate the lymph node using the pad of your index and middle fingers. Press gently, moving the skin over the underlying tissues in each area. The patient should be relaxed with the neck flexed slightly forward and, if needed, turn slightly toward the side being examined. You can usually examine both sides at once, noting both the presence of lymph nodes as well as asymmetry. From the submental node, however, it is helpful to feel with one hand while bracing the top of the head with the other. Feel in a sequence for the following nodes. First, preauricular in front of the ear. Second, posterior auricular is superficial to the mastoid process. Third, occipital at the base of the skull posteriorly. Fourth, tonsillar at the angle of the mandible. Fifth, submandibular midway between the angle and the tip of the mandible. Sixth, submental in the midline a few centimeters behind the tip of the mandible. Seventh, superficial cervical, superficial to the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Eighth, posterior cervical along the anterior edge of the trapezius. Ninth, deep cervical chain, deep to the sternocleidomastoid and often inaccessible to examination. Hook your thumb and fingers around each side of the sternocleidomastoid muscle to find them. 10th, supraclavicular, deep in the angle formed by the clavicle and sternocleidomastoid muscle. Note lymph node size, shape and delimitation, mobility, consistency and any tenderness. Enlarged or tender nodes. If unexplained, call for re-examination of the regions they drain and careful examination of the lymph nodes elsewhere so that you can distinguish between regional and generalized lymphadenopathy. Occasionally, you may mistake a band of muscle or any artery for a lymph node. Unlike a muscle or an artery, you should be able to roll a node in two directions, which is up and down and side to side. Neither a muscle nor an artery will pass this test. Now inspect the trachea and thyroid gland. Inspect the trachea for any deviation from its usual midline position, then palpate for any deviation. Place your finger along one side of the trachea and note the space between it and sternocleidomastoid. Compare it with the other side. The spaces should be symmetric. Now inspect the neck for thyroid gland. Tip the patient's head slightly back. Using the tangential lighting directed toward the tip of the patient's chin, inspect the region below the cricoid cartilage to identify the contours of the gland. Now observe the patient swallowing. Ask the patient to sip some water and to extend the neck again and swallow. Watch for upward movement of the thyroid gland, noting its contour and symmetry. The thyroid cartilage, the cricoid cartilage, and the thyroid gland all rise with swallowing and then fall to their resting position. Confirm your visual observation by palpating the gland's outline as you stand facing the patient. This helps prepare us for the more systematic palpation to follow. When the thyroid gland is retrosternal, below the suprasternal notch, it is often not palpable. There are few steps for palpating the thyroid gland via posterior approach. First, ask the patient to flex the neck slightly forward to relax the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Place the fingers of both hands on the patient's neck so that your index fingers are just below the cricoid cartilage. Ask the patient to sip and swallow water as before. Feel for the thyroid isthmus rising up under your finger pads. It is often but not always palpable. Displace the trachea to the right with the fingers of the left hand. With the right hand fingers, palpate laterally for the right lobe of the thyroid in the space between the displaced trachea and the relaxed sternocleidomastoid. Find the lateral margin. In a similar fashion, examine the left lobe. Note the size, shape, and consistency of the thyroid gland and identify any nodule or tenderness. In general, benign or colloid nodules tend to be more uniform, ovoid structures, and are not fixed to surrounding tissues. If the thyroid gland is enlarged, listen over the lateral lobe with the stethoscope to detect a bruit, a similar sound to a cardiac murmur but not of a cardiac origin.